Hello, this is Amos Tarfa. I hope you're doing well. I hope your week has been a blessed week. Today, I just want to say a few things. First of all, happy birthday to Sowell. He is 93 years old today, so we thank God for his life. And in this video, I just want to briefly address a big topic happening in America right now, or a conversation happening, which has to do with the Supreme Court decision. There's actually several decisions that will spark some interesting conversations, I know, on Facebook, on YouTube, and so on and so forth. I do want to encourage people to be cordial, to be respectful as they talk about these issues, and if possible, try and have these conversations in person with people that that care about these topics as well, right? Talk to them gently, respectfully. Even if you disagree with people, you can still be respectful about how you communicate. But I want to say that Sowell is one of the best resources when it comes to this topic of affirmative action that is happening. Jason Riley is also a good resource, and I just want to encourage you to look up those names if you haven't heard of them, because sometimes the news will give you one perspective on all these issues, but you don't hear the other perspective, right? So that's very important, I think, to listen to Sowell, who was born in, I believe he was born in North Carolina, and then he lived in Harlem. So he grew up in Harlem, was not very rich, but he ended up going to Howard University and then to Harvard, and then he ended up getting his PhD from the University of Chicago. But this is a black man growing up in America during some very difficult days back in the 40s and 50s and so on. But he was able to work hard and get to the place that he's at, right? He's at the Hoover Institute at Stanford. And I'm here now, of course, and I thank God for the opportunities I have. But when I was coming to America, I applied to, I was going to try going to places like Princeton, Johns Hopkins, and so on. So I know a lot of the application process details for all of those kinds of schools and all those things. And I have friends who went to some of these schools. But the reason why I bring all this up is to say, number one, these schools that are in question or people are debating about, we want to increase, diversity in these schools and so on. Everyone should give their best, do your best with what you have, and if you can get into these schools, great. But please know that Harvard, Princeton, Yale, that's like, if I had a choice today to choose a university to go to, I won't go to Harvard. Even if you gave me a full ride, I won't go to Harvard necessarily. Maybe MIT, that I'll go to. But the point is, sometimes we make these schools, we idolize them to the point that people go to these schools and they fail in these schools when they could be a big fish in a little pond, right? So Malcolm Gladwell, in his book David and Goliath, talked about this issue of big fish in a little pond and little fish in a big pond. Gladwell, I wouldn't say I agree with all of his new books, but that book, David and Goliath, had some very good insight. And so I want you to be careful before people start debating and arguing about, we need more people to go to Harvard or Princeton or Yale of this background. No. We need people to do their best, go to the schools that they can go to, make the most of the opportunities they have, find a mentor to help them to navigate the terrain, right? Because one of the advantages of the Ivy League schools is the networking opportunities you get. But you know what? The world is changing. The world is changing big time. I was listening to a conversation Elon Musk was having with someone, and he was even saying that in some of his companies, or in his companies, he doesn't even care about you having a college education. He doesn't even think that that's one of the high stakes or the high things that need to be accomplished. And I find that very interesting. He's more interested in what is your skill, what is your ability. And so I'm going to have another video on this. So please know that I can't say everything about this issue now. What I do want to say, number one, is that Sowell is a good authority figure on this topic. Jason Riley has some good conversations about it. I noticed that the presidential hopeful Vivek is also talking about this issue. So number one is that there are some voices you might not hear talking about this, and I will link Sowell's video on my YouTube channel. The other thing I would say again is, going to Ivy League schools or top schools is not the best thing that can happen to someone. I highly recommend finding a school that meets you where you're at, and it might not be a big name school, and that is just fine. Find a school that can help you develop your talents and your abilities. Number three, find a mentor, right? So I have friends who went to MIT, as I said, and so some of my students who want to study things that those friends have studied, I'm going to try and connect them. So even if my student doesn't end up going to MIT, he has mentors who have gone to MIT, and again, there are other schools in the country we don't even talk about that have very good standards out there. So let's be very careful not to allow this issue to discourage young people from giving their best and going to places that they can go to. There was a study that was done, I believe Dr. Sowell actually went to Cornell's, when he was teaching at Cornell, he went to the academic office, one of the administrative offices, and he was trying to observe what, the SAT scores were of certain students that were at Cornell. And he found out that some of the students at Cornell were actually not as prepared, and so some of them actually ended up not doing as well as at Cornell, even though they had very high SAT scores, but they were not necessarily as prepared as they could have been, and so they ended up in Cornell, but they were not doing as well in Cornell. But if those same students went to, let's say, the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, or if they went to the University of Maryland at Baltimore, some of those students would have been the best in their classes. However, they ended up at Cornell, and the story didn't go well for some of them. So what should we do? Do not discourage any child from giving the best they can or in whatever they're studying. Do not allow the decision of the Supreme Court to make you think, oh no, this is going to be terrible for these people. No, that's not true. Everybody has a brain they've been given. They might not have the mentors and the opportunities that others might have. But you know what? The world is very connected now. You can have a Zoom meeting with someone from wherever in the world. So find a mentor. I stand with Dr. Sowell on a lot of these issues, and this one especially. And so I want my friends to also learn about the work of Dr. Sowell. Again, I know many people have different views on these issues, so let's have a series of discussions, a series of conversations about this. And now I'll end with this. One of my next videos will be on the other Supreme Court decision, which is about student loans. Amos needs to calm down. I want to encourage students, please do not step foot in a college if you do not know what you want to do with your life. Do not step foot in a college taking student loan debt if you do not know what you want to do with your life. Why is this important? Because imagine if you go to college for 2 years and then realize, you know what, I have no interest in this thing I'm studying, but now I have student loans to pay back. Imagine if that were to happen. I really want to encourage students, make sure you take time job shadowing, doing internships, having a mentor that is guiding you through the job process and the career process. Make sure you have people that are guiding you through all those processes. Make sure you look at the college courses you will need to take for a degree that you're interested in. Make sure you're interested in those things. There is no rush. If you need to take a gap year, take a gap year, get a job, get some training and some experience. Where are people running to? Who said you have to run to college right after high school? Where are people, buying into, where are these lies coming from? You can learn a lot of things that you would learn in a traditional college. You can learn that for free online, and you could go test out of some of those courses at some of the local colleges. There's a lot of things that are just upside down in our education system in America. And so number one, do not idolize any school, no matter what that school is. Instead, find problems that you want to solve in society. Find people that are in that field. Begin to network, get a mentor. Number two, please do not go to college if you do not know what you want to do with your life. And please read some good books from Dr. Thomas Sowell, from Jason Riley, from other authors out there that are talking about life, right? I think of people like Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, some good books on leadership, on career, on training for life. Spend time doing that and reduce time that is spent, of course, on social media, except watching this video, which I hope has helped you ponder some of these ideas. So there's a lot more that could be said on this, but I just want to really encourage people to be careful with the decisions they make when it comes to college and life. Find a mentor. We're going to be doing more gap year programs as I transition in my role in my workplace. I'm really hoping to do more with education and more with gap year programs. So please send me an email if you have any questions on that. By God's grace, my kids, are going to go to school in America, of course, but I'm more interested in the fields they're interested in and the things they can make an impact in. And if they don't go to Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, that is just fine. Even though, by God's grace, I'm going to encourage them to be the best, to get a perfect score on whatever exam they take. But you know what? Even at the end of the day, even with that, we still need to then go back and ask, are your classes aligned with the goals you have for life? And if Harvard doesn't have those classes, or if those classes are not ideal from Harvard, then the children can go wherever. University of North Dakota, University of whatever university will help them flourish. And while they go there, of course, our prayer is that they're ambassadors there as well. So anyways, ambassadors for Christ. That's what ultimately matters, is that they live lives that make sense. Sorry, this video ended up getting a little too long, but let's keep the conversation going, and let's be kind to one another as we talk through this. God bless, take care, and thank you for your time.